Have you ever had a short, unexpected meeting that stayed with you? Something so small it shouldn't matter, but somehow it does? In language learning, it's often the simple words, the quiet moments, that teach you the most. A sentence you didn't expect. A voice you remember. And suddenly, it sticks. One of the best ways to learn English is through stories. They take you into real-life situations, where the language feels alive, not forced. If you're ready to connect with English in meaningful, everyday moments, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to EnglishPulse. It was her second day in Krakow. Ava had arrived in Poland just before the weekend, and the city had already started to open up to her, slowly, like a book she didn't know how to read but kept flipping through anyway. That morning, the streets had been wet with early rain. The old buildings along the square reflected light in soft, golden patches. She bought a coffee from a corner cart and walked without a plan, down a narrow alley, past a row of flower stalls, then through the arches of the cloth hall. She ended up near a small fountain where the pigeons gathered. Around the fountain were a few benches and some patches of grass. Nothing special, just a quiet corner. That's where she saw him. A small boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, holding a red balloon. He stood by himself, his feet slightly apart, the balloon string looped tightly around his wrist. The balloon bobbed in the breeze above his head, rising and falling like a thought. At first, Ava didn't pay much attention. She sat on a bench, sipped her coffee, and watched the slow movement of people crossing the square. Tourists with umbrellas. Locals with dogs. A woman in a green coat talking quickly on her phone. But every few minutes, her eyes returned to the boy. He didn't seem lost. He wasn't crying. He didn't look scared. He just stood there, watching the fountain. After a while, Ava reached into her bag, pulled out her sketchpad, and started to draw. She didn't draw him exactly, just the shape of the balloon. A floating red circle above a stick figure arm. Then she noticed him looking at her. He tilted his head slightly, curious. Ava smiled. The boy didn't smile back, but he didn't look away either. A minute passed. Then another. And then, without warning, he walked toward her. He stopped a few feet away and lifted the balloon slightly. "For you," he said. His English was simple, slightly accented, but clear. Ava blinked. "Really?" He nodded once, very serious. "You look like you need it." She laughed softly. "I do." He pointed to her sketchpad. "You're drawing sad." Ava looked down. He wasn't wrong. The balloon she had drawn drooped a little. The colors were soft, almost gray. The hand holding it looked tired. She looked back up. "Well, maybe I was a little sad." He stepped closer and offered the string again. She reached out and took it gently. The balloon tugged once against the breeze, then settled into her hand. "Thank you," she said. "What's your name?" "Mateusz," he said proudly. "I'm Ava." They stood there for a moment, the balloon between them. Then he pointed to the sketchpad again. "Can you draw me?" Ava hesitated just a second, then nodded. "Of course." Mateusz climbed up onto the bench beside her, sat with his hands on his knees, and faced the fountain. Ava turned a page in her sketchbook and began. She drew his small shoes, slightly scuffed. His jacket zipped up to his chin. The shape of his ears under his hood. The balloon string still tied to his wrist, even though she now held the balloon itself. As she drew, he spoke quietly. "My mama works in the cafe," he said, pointing across the square. "I wait here sometimes." Ava nodded. "You're very brave." He shrugged. "I like watching people. And sometimes I meet them. Like me. Like you." When the sketch was finished, she showed it to him. He looked at it for a long time. "You made my ears too big," he said. Ava laughed. "That's how I knew you could hear kindness." He looked at her, then smiled for the first time. "Okay," he said. "Then I like it." They sat together for a while, the balloon moving gently between them. Finally, a woman in a white apron came across the square, waving. "Mateusz," she called. He stood up. "That's my mama." Ava nodded. "You should go." He hesitated, then turned to her. "Can I have the balloon back?" She laughed and handed it to him. "Of course. It was yours first." He grinned. "But you can keep the drawing. Of me." "Deal." He ran off across the square, the balloon bouncing behind him. Ava watched until he disappeared into the cafe. She looked down at the sketch. His ears really weren't that big. But his eyes had been exactly right. In her notebook, she later wrote, "Sometimes a stranger gives you something you didn't know you needed. A balloon. A moment. A new color inside the day." In this story, you learned natural English phrases like "a book she didn't know how to read," "stood by himself," "the balloon bobbed in the breeze," "without warning, he shrugged," "you made my ears too big," and "a new color inside the day." These are emotional, descriptive phrases that help you express subtle human moments fluently. You also practiced conversational past tense and gentle dialogue between two characters. We post new stories every day to help you feel English in real, human ways. Like the video, subscribe to English Pulse, and tell us in the comments, have you ever met someone, just for a moment, who changed your mood? See you in the next video.